All right, data sanitization, we're just saying clean the data, you know, anything that would make the data identifiable, we clean it, we purge it, you know, and it's a big deal. So we have to do data sanitization all the time also. Logging and auditing, we need to track and audit the way the activities are uh, being used in your organization, then check the pattern, make sure we have a tamper protection. What that means is that sometimes people can make an attempt to modify a log. So instead of tracking the log to show, you know, John made a change with their timestamp, they could try to make a change to the log to put somebody else's name there and a different timestamp. So we want to protect that because that will be, you know, an integrity issue, right? Then regular review, we have to constantly monitor, you know, the system, the alerts, and activities in general. Another thing I would sneak in, everybody, I'm sure we all know this already, most of us. When you check your mail, when you're trying to log in, you would have HTTP. Most of us will see that HTTP, right? The S always means secure, right? If you don't mind, can we all type HTTPS, everybody? HTTPS, everybody. HTTPS. HTTPS. So now, anytime you see the S in front of file transfer protocol, it's just saying secured. It's a secured version of any one of those protocols. Now, make sure you take the Security Plus class for us. Most of these things are really targeted in that program and is designed to pass that CompTIA Security Plus exam. These are the things you'll cover there that will get into the details. I think it's important for all of us to do it. In our program, right now we have 100% pass rate. About almost 30 something people did it last 2 months or so. So, but that program is designed for this. You'll see a lot of stuff like this there. HTTPS, make sure before you trust a website, if it does not have the S in it, it means it's not secure. That's all. Okay. The same thing for email encryption, digital signature. We want to make sure there's secure email attachments, SMIME. So that's another one out there. Um, Vulnerability scanning, again, these are tools, right? So we're talking about how do we scan for potential weakness in your organization. So we have the discovery and inventory. So discovery tool, can we type that real quick, everybody? Can we type discovery? Everybody, please type that word. Okay, I think Ademola said something. What's that? Masking replaces sensitive information with fictional data, encryption transforms data into an unreadable format. Yes, sir. Yep, that's a good way to. That's awesome. Yep, that's it. Yep, that's it. Thank you, Ademola. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. Discovery. Now, the reason I want to throw that out there is in most environment, you might hear that word a lot. Even for asset management, they might say, "Have you done asset discovery?" Or when we do scanning, we are doing discovery. What does that mean? When you scan, first, let's even go discover the asset we have. The tools will scan around and do a asset discovery, trying to discover what is out there. Then we can start cataloging or inventorying each one of those assets we've discovered, right? So your scanning is going to be automated most of the time. Many times people do on-demand scanning or they could do a periodic schedule scanning also. Then of course we do our risk prioritization, which we've talked about before, CVSS, CV scores also. All right, let's see data classification. Now, let's take note of this real quick. A lot of organizations would have their classification the way they feel it's ideal for their business. The military is a little bit different or defense, but generically, most people would have public. These are information that can be shared with everybody. They would have internal. This is meant for us within our employee. Confidential would be sensitive information like our business strategy, customer record, employee evaluation. Those are confidential. Restricted would be things like our trade secrets, our strategic acquisition, like your mergers and acquisition out there, your financial credentials. So those are things that are restricted to your leadership, right? So these are some ways people, can we all type this real quick? If I ask you, what are some classification you're familiar with? Just tell me public, internal, confidential, and restricted. Can we type it real quick? So if you don't mind, just quickly type that. Okay, somebody asked a question. I would like somebody to make an attempt to answer it. Difference between CBSS and CVE. Mo, Google it and tell us. All right, for now, everybody's public, internal, confidential, and restricted. Okay, can we all type that real quick? Okay, let me ask if you guys tell me which one is which. Which of them has a, between CVE and CBSS, which of them has a unique identifier? Thank you. Which of them has a ranking of 1 to 10 based on the severity? All right. Okay, cool, cool, cool. You got it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's move on, folks. All right, let's go. So this is just giving some basic threat detection and response, a sample, 24/7 monitoring, average detection time 15 minutes, response window 45 minutes, prevention rate. It's just showing a general example of statistics out there. Cloud security, remember again, application layer, database layer, network layer, um, operating system layer. Then even you could have cloud layer too, because people use cloud too now. So we could have different layer of security we are thinking about in general. Because now with our cloud, we have to think of encryption there too. If you're using AWS or Azure, they have their key rotation process for encryption also. Don't stress that part. We have people that that's really their own core area around cloud. Okay, so that's really the gist of it. Hopefully that was, and I'll send these two documents. Please remind me to send those two. Uh, thank you, Mo. All right, good, good, good. That's what we do here. You research and let us learn more together. Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Mo. Awesome job. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's quickly do our assessment. Let's do the first one. Let's start with data protection. Okay, let's quickly do this real quick. I'll do the data protection impact assessment. If you guys check the use case, you will notice what the use case was. We had we had a new electronic data record that was to be deployed, and we needed to do a data protection impact assessment on that new system. So think and say to me, we're about to start COVID study, and we are bringing in subject or patients to be part of that study, and we needed to deploy an electronic data capture or a system to track those patients or subjects. So we had to do a DPIA. That's it. That's a real life use case for me, and that's how that led us to this assessment. So let me share my screen. This is the first one. You can see a data collection. Let's look at the question. What type of personal data are collected and processed and for what purpose? So they told me here, personal data types and processing purpose are documented, but there is room for improvement in clarity and detail. Okay, I gave them two here. What privacy risks have been identified in relation to the data processing activities? They said privacy risks are identified and documented, but some potential risks may not have been fully explored. So that sounds like a three to me. I'll do one. Okay, let's say another one. How are likelihood and impact of privacy risk assessed? They said likelihood and impact of privacy risk are assessed during using standardized criteria, but the process could be more thorough. So I said, okay, three, two, use your judgment. So I would like us to do the rest real quick, and I'll send us what the prompt is. So do the one for the one I highlighted in yellow, and I'm going to send it to the group right now. That is for data um, privacy. sorry, data protection impact assessment. So that should be data protection. I'm going to send it to us right now on the WhatsApp group. Once you get it, just give me a thumbs up.